I'm Ashima, as you heard. Um, so I got my first camera as a birthday present when I was 16 years old from my parents. And like any self-respecting teenage girl, I decided that I needed to pursue photography because I knew that our school darkrooms were located in the boys' dormitories. So suffice to say that by the end of high school, I was not much of a photographer. But I was someone who was interested in participating in many things, be it student government or social service, or drawing and playing sport, singing and dancing. I generally like to make an ass of myself, and I was a happy-go-lucky generalist. So what really appealed to me about photography was how it instinctively fell into the rhythm of my life, and how it also started to enhance a lot of my experiences. For example, I remember I had taken a photograph of a friend of mine while she was doing her hair. And she used that photograph because it had a can of her hairspray in it. She used that photograph to basically identify as evidence that some other girl had stolen that can of hairspray. Because you could see the marks on the can, and so she went into her room and said, "This is my hairspray." And I also remember taking pictures for my art class, of these sort of reductionist drawings of light and shadow. And I thought, wow, photography is really versatile. If I can create these sort of abstract interpretations, as well as solve petty crime. But when I left school, I didn't know rather, that I would be a photographer. And when people asked me, what are your interests? And I said everything, I knew that it was not the right answer. And it felt kind of ironic to me, because for the first 18 years of your life, you're sort of building and growing your experiences, to round your personality, to get into good universities. And now suddenly you're being told that, no, you have to cut back on a lot of your interests in order to find a specific speciality in order to have in the pursuit of a career. So I did struggle with this logic, because it felt as though becoming an adult meant that I had to somehow expand my intelligence while reducing my experience. Anyway, after much flip-flopping, in 2000 I decided to become a photographer, and I have since then remained primarily a photographer. But I've also remained open to opportunities that have been afforded to me. And a lot of these opportunities have been need-based. So for example, my husband will say to me, "I need you to organize a fundraiser for my charity." Or my sister, who's a film director in Mumbai, will say, "I need you to work on my film." So that means in the last 15 years of being a photographer, I have also been a fundraiser, an event organizer, a general runaround girl for my husband's charity. I've been a costume designer, a production designer, a general runaround girl for my sister's films. And I've also, what feels like in my free time, I have directed some documentary films for Discovery. I've been a writer, I've been a teacher, a cinematographer for ad films, short films for The Wedding Filmer, and I've been the photo editor for Time Out and for National Geographic Traveler. But the thing is that I chose to do all these things because I really liked and enjoyed the perspective that it lent to my life. From working at an NGO, I really started to understand what drives sentiment. From working in films, I understood how to direct people, and even things like how the color of a wall can affect emotions in an image. I'm now going to start to just show you some of my work. Oh, excellent. And you'll see it's a mixed bag of different things, from portraits and some ads, and I've also put some documentary footage in here, which is on mini DV, as well as some other footage which is on HD. So I started my career at 24, and for those first few years of my career, you'll see that my photographs are very happy and positive. But then I got married, and things changed. And by that I mean that my direct influences started to change. My husband, Matthew Spacey, whom you heard speak earlier today, started a charity for marginalized children. And the work that he was doing really started to impact me and the way I was thinking, and therefore the way that I was seeing. And photography is really about processing and translating information. And so your photographs really show the level at which you want to connect with your subject matter. So when your interests change, that connection and the level of connection also starts to change. And if you want to make photography a long-term experience, a career, then you have to realize that as time passes, aesthetics change, practices change, formats change, and you have to start to reinvent yourself with it. In 2005, I decided that I wanted to make a documentary, just like that. And at this point, my documentary should play, yeah, okay. I liked flamingos, and I thought, not many people in Mumbai know about the flamingos that we have. We have 20,000 in Mumbai. And so I wanted to raise awareness about them and their environment, but it was very new territory for me because I had always worked in slightly controlled environments, and no one was going to pay me to learn how to do this. So I did it myself, I funded it myself by shooting a lot of album covers and editorials. And that has then been my way of working from then on. Every time I want to start something new and explore something new. Every time I want to start something new and explore something new, I try to balance what I want to know with what I do know and can make money from. It's not actually been that easy because learning something new takes time. And that's time away from getting better at what you did earlier. And also people who used to give you work start to feel, oh, well, she's not really that interested in my work anymore. And then getting new clients is also a little bit problematic because when you have a portfolio that ranges from fashion to wildlife documentary filmmaking, you're defying categories. People often, they ask me that how is it possible that you are able to go off and do a book on they often ask me, how can you go and do a book on the lifestyles of the Maharajas and then come back and do a story on the weavers in Banaras and the condition of the weavers in Banaras? I think that when you live in India, you become accustomed to navigating through diversity and through disparity. We do it in our everyday lives. And it's our lives that really inform our work. So practically, it's never really been that much of in opposition, although I can see how it might be just ideologically. In 2015, things are different. With social media and the internet, a lot of people can explore various aspects of their personalities that they weren't able to previously. So it's not just that now you're just an engineer or you're just a doctor. But you can be a neurosurgeon who writes stories about polo-playing penguins, and you can tell the world about it, and you can join a virtual community that is actually interested in polo-playing penguins. So what this means for photographers, both amateur and professional, is that now there are audiences from all around the world who have unprecedented access to us and to our work. And they can find us, and they can follow us. And there's no restrictions between them or us in terms of the markets or the magazines, because it's not niche anymore. For professional photographers, what this means is that we are still trying to grapple with how do we manage this convergence of our skills with new audiences and make it something that's commercially sustainable. But that's what adapting is about. So for often success is defined and it's perceived in a certain way. And so people shy away from paths that might not lead to this sort of conventional notion of success. And while there is tremendous skill and there's also tremendous success in being a specialist, it's also tremendously rewarding to be able to want to do different things and then to actually go out and do them. So, it's also very rewarding to just try and do things that you've not done before. As a nation, we are really obsessed with marks and with academics. But when you start to work, you realize that nobody will care about these things. No one will remember these things. What they will care about and what they will remember is, can this person who's come on board bring a new perspective to the situation? Can they adapt easily to a situation? And these are often things that you've not learned while being a specialist in your career. These are things that have happened external to that. I like change. I like to change. I find it challenging. And I think perhaps I'm lucky that I'm not terribly concerned about failure. But I am quite concerned if I feel regret for not trying things. And I would suggest that you also go out and try many different things that you'd like to. Thank you very much.